Time for us now to take a look at what's taking up ink on the international papers. Diptyque Laurent is with us in studio. Diptyque, let's start with this somewhat controversial, quite surprising letter from prominent French females.
An op-ed that appeared first in the French paper Le Monde and now has been widely picked up by pretty much all of the international press because it is quite controversial. As you said, it was written by around 100 female celebrities, including the French actress Catherine Deneuve, essentially decrying what they see as the new puritanism, essentially saying that the Me Too movement has basically stifled sexual freedom, alleging, and I'm quoting here, that men have been punished summarily, they've been forced out of their jobs when all they did was touch someone's knee.
Okay, and it has sparked somewhat of an angry backlash in much of the media.
Well, a lot of those people who are at the forefront of the Me Too movement, including the Italian actress Asia Argento, well, she's been one of the first to tweet furiously back at this article. In a tweet, she accuses Catherine Deneuve and other French women of telling the world how their interiorized misogyny has lobotomized them to the point of no return. So that's a pretty stinging clap back there from Asia Argento. Now, one writer for the British daily The Guardian has also slammed the article, saying that women are not angry because they are puritanical, as the letter claims, but they are angry because they seek joy from sexual contact when it's on their own terms, not when it's in the form of abuse or exploitation at the hands of men.
What do you reckon, Stephen Carl, or would you prefer not to comment?
I prefer not to comment. I think it's a very interesting and ongoing debate. It's hard to see Catherine Deneuve's point of view, though.
Very hard.
It's definitely an interesting one. I'm sure we'll spend many hours talking about it later on the day. Diptyque, let's stay with The Guardian. There are reports in that newspaper that Chinese women are defying censorship.
With their own Me Too movement, actually. It's still a fledgling movement due to China's strict social control, as the Guardian reports. But one woman, her name is Lu Qiangqiang, is using her own experience of being sexually harassed or abused by a college professor to speak out against sexual violence in what's being called the Wo Yi Shi movement. That's Me Too in the Chinese language. She says we need to stand up bravely and say no. This, of course, as one study suggests, about 80% of Chinese women may be sexually harassed or abused.
Well, that's quite a staggering statistic. Staying on the theme of women's rights, New York police have solved a cold case of a woman raped in 1994.
That's right. This case actually became infamous afterwards because the victim was later discredited by a local journalist, local newspaper columnist, who basically alleged that she'd made it up for her own sort of professional reasons. There was some whole host of reasons. Anyway, well, there is some sort of vindication now because new DNA evidence has helped determine the man who raped her, basically confirming that she indeed was raped. Unfortunately, he can't be charged due to the statute of limitations, but it is nonetheless a triumphant vindication for the woman who not only suffered a rape, she was then vilified for it.
Okay, well, let's move on. Diptyque, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's son has found himself embroiled in a scandal that some are calling Strippergate. Tell us more.
It's all to do with these audio recordings that have been made public. Now, Yair Netanyahu is Benjamin Netanyahu's eldest son. An audio recording of his night on the town with his buddies back in 2015 has now prompted a scandal. Haaretz explains that he was using government-funded transport to, quote, drunkenly ping-pong between strip clubs. And in the audio recording, we hear some pretty shocking banter about cash they spent at the strip joint, but also some comments they make about the strippers herself. And then Yair brags about a $20 billion deal between his father, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his friend's dad, Israeli gas tycoon Kobi Maimon. Many people are seeing this as yet another link to corruption with the prime minister. Now, the Jerusalem Post denounces what it calls a nation without shame. They say in other countries a similar scandal may have sparked protests and people would have been held accountable, but in Israel there'll probably be few repercussions for Benjamin Netanyahu because, I quote, "This is how desensitized Israeli politics has become."
Very finally and quickly, Diptyque, the tell-all book about Donald Trump has been flying off the shelves, But another book has gained some fame in the process.
That other book is also called Fire and Fury. It's written by Canadian author Randall Hansen, and it's about the Allied bombing of Germany back in the Second World War. Now, many people in their haste to get a copy of that salacious tell-all book about Donald Trump have been ordering the wrong one. They've been ordering Hansen's World War II book, and he says his sales have soared in the past couple of days. And he says, at a moment where we have this, quote, unstable demagogue, hopefully his book can teach us a thing or two about the perils of war.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Diptyque Laurent for the International Press Review. Thanks indeed for that.